most people lacking understanding of what's truly important. That's a powerful statement right there, and it's so true. Now I'm going to give you a framework for what's truly important. You ever read The 7 Levels of Communication? If you haven't read it, you should read that book. It's an awesome book, and I'm going to go through one of the concepts of that book right now because it's something that we don't think about. We just go through life and nobody teaches us this, and most people have never been trained on effective communication and how to do it. So this is one of the key concepts from that book. So up at the top of this pyramid, it says one-on-one meetings, events and seminars, phone calls. That's in the influential zone. If you want to influence somebody, if you want to get somebody to move in the direction that you want them to move, it better be in one of those 3 categories. And the closest category to the influential zone is handwritten notes. Because if you ever get a handwritten note, you don't throw it out. Most of the people are like, oh, they wrote it with themselves. It's not a Hallmark card. Like, you know, so if you start writing like handwritten notes, because some of you guys, I understand, like we're, you know, not every one of us, we're all in sales. But not everybody's really comfortable putting themselves out there all the time, which we got to get over, by the way. But when you talk about one-on-one meetings, what better way to influence somebody than a one-on-one meeting? When was the last time that you got a listing signed because you went back and forth on a listing appointment via email? Never. Never. Like, I never have. I mean, you might have said, you might have talked to them and engaged with them via email, but most people are not like, answer all of my, you know, my questions about, you know, about all the stuff that I want to know. Good morning. About all the stuff I want to know, and I'm going to sign via email. That doesn't happen typically. Like, usually you get face-to-face with somebody and you close. Like, and they sign a piece of paper, or you send them it later via email. So the informational zone, this is where most people spend their life. And I can't tell you how many times I get newer agents or even seasoned producers that say to me, I don't understand. I send postcards every month. And I do it, you know, consistently, and I've been doing it for 6 months and I've gotten nothing. I'm like, all right, well, first of all, it's farming, it takes time. Like, you plant the seeds and the crops come later. But beyond that, like, you're in here, you're in that informational zone. Like, you gotta find a way to get in front of people. Because if you're not in front of people, you're not doing what you need to be doing from an effective communication standpoint. And this to me is like one of the things that people screw up the most and think that they're doing something to promote their business and help their business, and they're not where they need to be. And so this is why I had Queen come as one of the speakers today, because events and seminars are such an easy way to get in front of people and make that connection and influence them. How many people wake up to email? You don't have to raise your hands, but believe me, 90% of the people in this room wake up to email, and I probably would say that that's low. Like, you wake up, you jump online, who emails you? Like, why? Like, respectfully, why? Because that's not the most impactful things in terms of communication, but yet we all do it. Like, and it's a mistake. It really is a mistake. What I would suggest you do is stop waking up to email and start waking up to the 5 most impactful things that you can do for your business today. And then get to email. Because it's just going to change the way you do business. Number 4. This is Dubai. So we flew to Dubai as a pit stop on our way to Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia, we did Thailand. This is Ha Long Bay. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Vietnam. I take that back. This is Ha Long Bay in Vietnam. Cambodia. We then flew to Bangkok in Thailand. And then the goal was on this trip to go to Phuket. So Phuket is, you know, islands, I think it's an island, I would say, off of Thailand, kind of an archipelago, is that how you say it? Yeah, archipelago. So anyway, so basically we were going to go to Phuket. And Phuket is like, you know, if you ever watch The Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio, that's Phuket. So Phuket is this beautiful place, and we're like, oh, I can't wait to go. It's going to be amazing, blah, blah, blah. Monsoon. So we weren't going to Phuket because that's not what I wanted to deal with. So we decided to pivot. We had no choice but to pivot. So we did. And we pivoted to Bali. What a great pivot.
That's on my bucket list, Bali.
It should be on everybody's bucket list. It's literally heaven. So these are rice paddies in Bali. We did. I was like driving a motorcycle around rice paddies like a maniac. It was awesome. So we went to, this is Uluwatu in Bali, some of those beautiful beaches and places you'll ever go. Really a cool spot. So we traveled around most of Bali. We traveled around most of Southeast Asia. Clearly it wasn't in a car. I realize we're talking road trips, but same principle. So we traveled around most of this area, and it was absolutely incredible trip. So what was my takeaway from this trip? Set benchmarks. So the benchmarks for this trip were very simple. I had 1 week that we were going to spend in Phuket. That went away, but I still had it earmarked for Phuket. So I needed to fill in my 1 week. Now, because we couldn't go there, we had to, what was the other benchmark that went through our head? A beach. That was the benchmark, because we were like, we want to relax. So, by the way, this is literally a picture from there. It's the best sunsets, the best beaches you'll ever see in your life. So, I mean, when you have this earmarked of I got a week to go, and I want to spend it on the beach, well, now we're just filling in the blank. You got to fill in the beach, like we did, and that's why we went to Bali. So, in your business, the same principle is applicable. Setting benchmarks. So when you talk about traveling the world, you don't travel the world like a wanderer. I don't, at least. I have a job. So it's not like I just go out and I'm like, all right, I can go wherever I want, whenever I want to go, and just wherever the wind takes me, that's where I'm going to go. No. We have a certain time limit. We have a certain budget that we need to spend. Your business is the exact same way. If you have 1 month to spend in a specific place, you're going to get what you want to get done in that month. The problem is your business plan needs to include timed benchmarks. Because what we view our business as, unlike a trip, is we don't think about it I have a month to accomplish this all the time. Or I have a week to accomplish this, or a day to accomplish this. Most people don't view the world that way. And it's really a mistake that you're making, because you have to view it like a trip. You know what? I have a week to accomplish this goal, whatever that goal is, check that benchmark. Benchmarks keep you honest. I will list 2 homes a month. Use that as a benchmark. I'm just going to use that as an example. If you don't list 2 homes in a month, all right, maybe you hit a monsoon, just like Phuket. So when you hit that monsoon, what are you going to do to pivot? Maybe for whatever reason, open houses are not working for you. There's not enough inventory on the market. Well, great. Your benchmark hasn't changed. You still want to list 2 houses a month. The question is, how are you going to get there? Well, go back to that zone of influence and figure out which box you're going to check to fill in that benchmark, because that's the way your business should look. Basically, the pivot. So here's I threw this in here because these are some interesting benchmarks for you to look at. Most people don't think about what benchmarks actually are in real estate. So leading benchmarks are, how many days are you prospecting? How many days are you prospecting are going to lead to where, eventually the lagging benchmarks, which is how many listings you take. How many open houses, how many buyer consultations, how many buyer consultations you completed, buyer agreements signed, listing appointments attended. All of those benchmarks are crucial to your business, but these are leading. This is not indicative of how much you're going to do over here, but usually it leads to that place. That's the point. The lagging, if you're only looking at lagging benchmarks, you're probably not paying enough attention to what is going to drive your business. Does that make sense? Yeah. Number 5. So this trip started out in Vegas, and then it went to LA, and then it went to San Diego.
Are you ever home?
Yeah.
You should know that better than most. Anybody who's in Maplewood knows I like to travel. Then we went to Monument. We went to Phoenix. We hiked the Grand Canyon. We went to a bunch of different, Arches National Park, Bryce Canyon, and finished in Sedona. So, awesome trip. But here's what I'm going to tell you about this trip. Big takeaway. We covered a lot of grounds. But the takeaway from this particular trip, hold on, because I got the glitch here.
Bring a bottle of water.
bring a lot of bottles of water. You ever hike the Grand Canyon, you need, I don't even want to go there. It's painful. So more is not always better, you know, is the takeaway from this trip. And I say that because, you know, we tried to squeeze so many things into this trip, and like this is the one trip that I would say like it was an awesome vacation. Like I loved like, you know, all the places we saw, but I just felt like we were driving all over the place. And after a while I was like, all right, like that wasn't even a vacation. Like it wasn't, you know, it didn't energize us. It was like more of like we were like going to place, and it was a learning experience because it was, all right, like don't pack too much into it. So, you know, that whole theory of like jack of all trades, master of none, too many people approach their business plan and they go from like 0 to 100. And they say to themselves like, all right, I'm gonna just kill it this year. And I'm gonna do this and that and this and that. And like what happens is like, you just get nothing accomplished because you're trying to throw so much in there that like nothing gets done. Focus on like 1 to 3 things or whatever it is to start with. Get a system in place for that, and it's going to take you to where you want to go faster than trying to do everything. Make sense? Back to this whole thing of 7 levels of communication. Like, if you're going to focus on 1 to 3 things, don't focus on, you know, putting an ad in the local newspaper. Like, that should not be your one thing. It's got to be more influential than that. All right. So the next thing is just a little bonus, and then I'm going to go into like some quick hitters. Okay? I need to check the time. All right, we're good. So bonus is, this is a fun one. And this is not necessarily a road trip, but these are 3 unbelievable places that I've been, and they kind of all, you know, come into one another for one lesson. So you ever see this? Like, this is what success looks like. And, you know, really, this is what success looks like. And it's not like a straight line journey. So that's part of the takeaway, but I'm going to say it in a little bit of a different way because it's fun. Is you ever see Instagram versus reality? So we all know it. We have like friends of ours. I'm going to say friends of ours, not us, but we have friends of ours that are absolute train wrecks. Like, but on Instagram, they're perfect. Like, we all know those people. So I'm going to go through some like Instagram and then reality, so you guys get a feel for, you know, what this trip looked like on Instagram and what it really looked like. So Instagram. This is Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. Loved Rio. Awesome. I went there for my 30th birthday. I'm born on January 2nd, and so we were there for New Year's. It was a great trip. So up at the top left corner, you see Christ the Redeemer. And that, you know, that statue like overlooks the city, and it's just beautiful. It really is. It's a special place. So we were like, we're going to Christ the Redeemer. Like, we're going to go to the top of this. We're going to do this. Except we decided that, all right, well, like, we see pictures like that. We're like, it's right outside of Rio. Let's just do it. Like, welcome to reality. This is Christ the Redeemer over here. This is Rio. And this is the jungle that we hiked through. So, and I don't know why we decided to hike instead of taking a car, but we did. And which was, in reality, it was awesome. It was awesome. But here's the thing. I'm going to get to the point in a second. So let's go to the next one. Instagram. Instagram. This is Cambodia. This one's actually, it's not as funny. It's really sad, to be honest. Cambodia is one of my favorite places I've ever been in my life. I loved Cambodia. It's like a scene from Indiana Jones. Like, you know, it's just such a beautiful place. Like, you know, it's one of those places where you go to the temples. Angkor Wat is like the main, you know, set of temples there. And you go there and like, they allow you to actually walk on the structures. So like, you're just like exploring. I mean, it's fascinating. It's an unbelievable place. If you ever see Tomb Raider in the right-hand corner, that was the scene from Tomb Raider. So basically, I'm in Cambodia, and you know, where Siem Reap is the city that you go to. And you go to Siem Reap, and awesome place, and what they tell you when you go there, and what you don't know until you get there, at least I didn't, is that this is the reality. So this is Angkor Wat. It's surrounded by jungle. And here's the sad part of this. You all think about the Vietnam War. Cambodia was a big part of the Vietnam War, and all over Cambodia, all over, they lost the map to the landmines. So You can walk out like into the jungle and step on a live landmine from back in Vietnam, like, you know, from the Vietnam War. It's so sad. Like, and so their population of people in Cambodia are stuck for the most part to like 2 main cities, like, you know, Siem Reap being one of them. And now, this is one of the most unbelievable places you'll ever see, but like, you don't want to go walking in the jungle to get to Angkor Wat. Like, that's not a plan that you're going to take here. Like, so, you know, we're going to get to the takeaway from this in a second, but I'm going to give you one more example. Instagram. This is one of the most beautiful sunsets I can, you know, or sun, it's not a sunset, excuse me, it's a sunrise that I've ever seen in my life. This is in Bali. This is on the top of a volcano. So, a gun or something volcano. So, welcome to reality. It's a 5-hour hike to get to the top of this, and you have to start at like 1 o'clock in the morning. Like, if you want to see sunrise, you're not getting there any other way. So, we wanted to do this, we heard it was incredible, but like, we didn't know that that was the journey to get there. And anybody who saw this online would have no idea that we woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning to start hiking up a volcano. Like, you know, you just don't think that. So it's the same takeaway for all 3 of these, and this is why I'm bringing it up. There's always an obstacle. Always. Everything we do, there's always an obstacle. The question is, what is the obstacle? This particular obstacle to get up that volcano, how did we do it? Well, I can tell you one thing, we weren't doing that by ourselves. That man right there was our guide. He got us up the volcano. Like, I'm not getting up to see that, and I took this picture. Like, it was an absolutely beautiful, it was majestic, it was godlike, like, place. But you're not getting up to the top of that volcano without a guide. Like, it just doesn't happen. Same thing, somebody took this picture of me. Like, this is, you know, Christ the Redeemer, like up on the top overlooking all of Rio. It's such an incredible place. Well, that picture would have never happened if it wasn't for us planning our route through the jungle with a guide. Like, we needed that. I'm not getting through that jungle without this guy. I'm not going into the jungles of, you know, Siem Reap and Angkor Wat to see some of the most beautiful and amazing places I've ever seen in my life if it's not for a tuk-tuk driver who basically, like, you know, we connected with, who brought us through and guided us around the obstacles that were there. Like, you don't get to these places without having help. It doesn't happen. So the takeaway here is very simple. Find a guide, but the more important part than find a guide is find a guide who has been where you want to go. Because too often we follow these people in life that like are, you know, internet legends that never sold any real estate. Like, you know, that are like, we talk to like the person sitting across from us and they're like, bah, 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 about how wonderful and how big their, you know, their business is, and they do nothing. Like, or we see somebody in the marketplace that appears to be killing it, and meanwhile they're like up to their eyeballs in debt because they're spending so much money to try to maintain this fake volume. Like, that's the world we're in. Find a guy who's actually been there. And many of you guys have amazing managers. Like, seek out your manager that helps you get to where you want to go. Part 2, and these are quick hitters, and I'm almost done. So, improve productivity is a speed round. Number 1, and by the way, you're going to get these slides, so I know that you're going to go through this fast. Simple business plan. Most people don't think about it this way, so I wanted to just like kind of like tweak your thinking. How many of you guys start with expenses? You should. What are your expenses in life? If you're doing a business plan for any other business, that's what a bank is going to ask for. They're going to say, like, what is the business plan? What are the expenses related to that plan? Next one, what are your savings? Like, what was that? Amazon? Okay. Is that on here? I don't even know. It's true. It's true. Listen, all I know is in my house, Amazon's a big bill. I have 3 girls, 1 on the way, like Amazon just takes over. What are your savings? What debt do you need to pay off? Like, are you considering that in your business plan? Fulfillment. What trips do you want to take? Hint, hint, hint. Like growth, spirituality. Like, what are you trying to do to like build yourself? Success. Like, what does success look like? Do you have to buy a Ferrari? Do you want to just like, you know, take your kids out to dinner? Like, you know, success looks differently to different people. So, you know, figure out what those things are, And then you total them all up. It's a very simple formula. Here's your income goal, whatever that, that number is. You want to have savings, you want to have all these different things. And then you take your average commission check, you divide it by the income goal, and that's how many transactions you have to do. It's a very easy way to start. Now you know exactly what your numbers are, but most people don't account for all those figures. They account for like, oh, I just want to sell 10 houses. Like, well, what the hell is that? Like, does it account for your expenses? Does it account for where you want to be in your life? Does it account for savings and trips and your Amazon bill? Like, what does it account for? You got to back into it that way. And then you back into the productivity attached to it. Numbers to track daily, contacts, like, how many appointments you set, how many you attended, listings taken, buyers under contract. Next one, number 2. This is a very quick one, but it's pretty brilliant if you listen to it. There's 26 letters in the alphabet, very basic, right? There's 52 weeks in a year. Divide it out. If you call everybody in your phone twice a year, you're gonna have a better chance of actually being top of mind. Just pick a letter every week. Simple strategy. This is my week. If you have a thing where I gotta call 5 people a day or whatever it is, great. Pick 5 A's this week, every day, and then move on to the B's. So now you have a very simple system for it. You don't have to think about, did I call this person? Did I not call this person? You know who you called and when. Number 3. So this is me at the beginning of a marathon. I look really tough, don't I? So this is me on the Verrazano Bridge, and clearly I have a lot of energy in me. And I definitely didn't look like that 18 miles later. So why I bring this up is because success is not always what you see. And I said this before, so 18 miles from this picture, give or take, I had little old ladies going past me. And I thought I was gonna die. So the point is you think that you see these people and they're like false bravado and they show up in this fancy car or whatever. A lot of it's bullshit. It just is. Call it like it is. So, the point of this, and this is what I learned from marathon running, is run your race. Don't run anybody else's race. And this was a hard lesson for me personally to learn because I can tell you right now, I'm competitive. I want to beat everybody. And when you want to beat everybody in a marathon, you're destined for doom. It's just not, you're not going to win. You're just not going to win. So your goal is to beat yourself. Every single year, just keep beating yourself. Number 4, externals. Quick one, but it's an important one. So if the average in your marketplace every year, this is just made up numbers, obviously. If, between 2010 and 2019, there were a total of 10 houses that sold in your marketplace, and you sold 2 of them every single year, consistently. And then COVID hits, and now all of a sudden there are 15 houses that sell in your marketplace, and you happen to sell 3 of them. Easy math so far. Now, the market shifts, and there's only, and by the way, I pulled this intentionally because this is what the market looks like compared to this, right now. It's 40% off in most markets across the country. In terms of, not price, but in terms of how many units are being done. It's 40% off from not from 2021, but in general, before that, 40%. That's how many fewer transactions. Real talk. Why do I bring this up? Not doom and gloom. I'm bringing it up because if your expectation is that you're still going to do 3, you're out of your mind. And it doesn't mean that you can't do 3. I'm not being pessimistic. It means that you can't do what you were doing last year when the market constricts and still get the same results. You can't. It's impossible. You're not going to defy the laws of the market. So do something different, bring some different energy, or expect your business to change. Do one or the other. Most agents expect this. It's a bad expectation. You're not prepping yourself properly. It doesn't happen without a plan. You have to plan for growth in a constricting market. Number 5 is the last one. If you want 50 referrals, give 100 referrals. It's such a simple thing, but that giver's gain mentality is the way I learned. I was in a business networking group years ago, B&I, and I was the #1 in that group every single year for how many referrals I've given, and every year I made $50,000 plus from B&I. And I hear people that are in B&I, they're like, oh, I don't get any business, and I'm like, give more referrals. Find a way to connect with the people in your life and help them. Very simple dialogue for this. every single conversation you go into, end the conversation with, how can I help you? What can I do for you? Everybody. Anybody you talk to. Like, how not self-serving is that? Finish the conversation with, like, is there anything I can do to help you? It doesn't have to be real estate driven. It could be like, oh, it's the landscaper. Like, what do you need? What do you need to do to get more clients? How can I help you along those lines? Like, you start helping more people, your business is going to grow. There's no question about it. And people are going to love you for it as well. So you become a pretty popular person. That's all I have. I hope I struck some good ideas for you guys. I hope it was helpful. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I don't know where we are time-wise, but I think we're going to take a 15-minute break.